Hey, what is up, people? It is Reaperator here, and today we're going to be talking about the DC panel that just went on. Now, James Gunn and Peter Safran are the two heads at DC now. They've taken over and they're rebooting the entire thing, so let's talk about that. Now, first off, I just want to say it is a little bittersweet. Now, the DCEU, the movies we had before where they're all interconnected, I'm talking about like the Justice League here, like Batman v Superman, those movies, it is coming to an end. But honestly, it might be for the better. Those movies, like half of them were actually kind of good, and then the other half were just complete train wrecks. So maybe it's better that we're starting from scratch and we get to wipe the slate clean and kind of get some new movies in here that could actually be, good this time. Now, the first movie that was announced today is called Superman Legacy, and this is coming out July 11th, 2025. Now, that is quite the wait, and it is the only movie on this list that has gotten an official release date, which, again, that could be subject to change, so who really knows, but it should be out around that time, unless there's some sort of scheduling conflicts or something like that. They also have not announced who is going to play Superman. We know it's not going to be Henry Cavill. He's already out because this movie is actually going to be a younger version of Clark Kent from the one we see, and that's why they didn't want to use Henry Cavill, because they felt like they couldn't tell the story with an actor that looks that old. So, this movie is going to be about Superman's first few years kind of living in Metropolis, working at Daily Planet, and being Superman. The movie is also going to have one of the most classic stories for Superman, and that is balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. And I've always thought that's one of the most compelling things you can tell about Superman. So I am glad that this first movie is going to be kind of focusing on that part of Superman. I really love that. Next is The Authority. Now, I'm not familiar with who these guys are from the comics, but what this one is about is a group of superhumans who have an ends justify the means mentality. So to me, it kind of seems like it's going to be a group of heroes who are like anti-heroes, or at least have some morally gray aspects to how they do things. And from the description that I was reading, they kind of give me Ozymandias vibes from Watchmen. So I don't know. I think that'd be a cool idea for a movie. Next, and by far my most anticipated project for this new DC universe, is The Brave and the Bold. Now, this is going to be a Batman movie, but it won't be starring Ben Affleck and it won't be starring Robert Pattinson. Now, that's not to say that Robert Pattinson won't continue as Batman. They've already said that the Batman 2 is happening. That's still going to come out. Don't worry, guys. It's just going to be kind of in its own universe, doing its own thing. I think eventually they could cross it over with some multiversal stuff there, but for now, it's just going to be in its own universe, doing its own thing, which I actually really kind of like because I love the Dark Knight trilogy. And as much as I love the interconnected superhero movies we get nowadays, like the MCU, I feel like there's still room in the movie theater to watch some superhero movies that are just its own thing. You know what I mean? Like, not everything needs to be some big cinematic connected universe with 15 different movies. Sometimes I'd like to just keep it a simple trilogy with one hero. Now, that being said, this movie will be about Batman and Robin, and I gotta say, I'm very excited for that. I think this will be the first time we're seeing a live action Robin since Batman and Robin, everybody knows. The best Batman movie, George Clooney. Oh, what a great Batman. No, but seriously, it's going to be about Batman and Robin. And the Robin that they decided to go with, which I thought was kind of shocking, was Damian Wayne. Now, if you guys don't know, this is Batman's biological son, but Batman didn't know he had a son for, I think, his first, 8 years of being alive, and then Batman finds him. And Damian Wayne was raised by the League of Assassins, so he's kind of more cutthroat and wants to kill the enemies, whereas Batman's whole thing is that he doesn't kill people. So it'll be an interesting dynamic, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with Dick Grayson first, because I thought eventually they'd want to build up to Nightwing, but who knows, maybe they'll make this Robin be Nightwing. Next movie on the list is Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Now, it's seeming like the character of Supergirl is going to kind of contrast Superman in the sense that she's not all bright and cheery and fun. She's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit rough around the edges. And the reason for that, James Gunn has said, is because she didn't grow up on Earth like Superman did, but instead grew up on a split off chunk or like some kind of rock that chipped off of Krypton. And for her first 14 years of being alive, she watched everyone around her get killed and died in just terrible ways. So it's seeming like it's going to be kind of a grim movie, but Yeah, I'm very interested to see what they do with that. It sounds amazing. Now, this next one I am super excited for. I'm not too familiar with the character, but I did like him in Injustice 2, and that is Swamp Thing. He's getting his own movie. It's going to explore kind of who Swamp Thing is, like what does he do, what are his powers, all that good stuff. And I'm glad that James Gunn isn't afraid to kind of take these wacky characters from the comics and put them on the big screen. I feel like with Marvel movies, Guardians of the Galaxy was like the first one to probably do that, to take a character it's a little bit outlandish and then make them into a movie. And sure enough, James Gunn directed those movies as well. So I'm very excited to see what he can pull off with this one. Also, I'm curious because it's said to be something of a horror film, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but this is definitely one that I'll be seeing the first day it drops. Now, that is it for all the movies they announced, but they did also announce some TV shows. Now, I do think that all of these are going to be HBO Max originals, so you'll have to have the streaming service to watch the show, which is kind of unfortunate, but what are you going to do? I mean, DC is owned by HBO Max, so nothing we can do. Now, the first show is called Creature Commandos, and this is an animated show, but it will directly tie in. James Gunn has even said that he's going to get the voice actors from the animated show to later play their parts in the live action whenever these characters are brought to something that's live action. So I think that's really cool. Now, I'm not really familiar with this group like at all, but from what I've read is that it takes place during World War II and they fight Nazis. And the team is made up of Frankenstein's monster, a vampire, a werewolf, and a gargoyle, which sounds pretty interesting, but it seems like James Gunn's approach will be a bit different and he'll be having Weasel be one of the members, as well as Rick Flag's dad, Rick Flag Sr. I don't really know if that'll play as well. I feel like the other things sounded more interesting, but we'll just have to wait for it to come out before I judge it. Now, the next show we're getting is called Waller, and this is sort of a continuation for Peacemaker 1. As for a Peacemaker Season 2, they haven't announced anything about it, unfortunately, but it does seem like at least that everything that happened there is going to tie into this Waller show, and Waller will be a part of the new universe. So it doesn't seem like they're leaving it behind entirely, but I'm not too hopeful we'll get a season 2, unfortunately, but who knows. But anyways, this show focuses on Amanda Waller, and Viola Davis is returning for the role. So as I was saying before, it kind of shows that this isn't a full reboot. It's a soft reboot of the universe. I don't really know exactly how they're going to make that work yet. My guess is they'll use the Flash movie to do Flashpoint, and then change the things they don't like about the old universe, add in the new stuff, keep the stuff that worked, and then just call it Flash messed with time travel, so now the world is like this. Kind of like if you guys have seen the Flash TV show, how when he undid Flashpoint, not everything went back exactly the way it was. Kind of interesting. I feel like that's the best route they could go, but I have no idea what they're going to do yet. Additionally, some of the cast of Peacemaker Season 1 will be making appearances on this Waller show. I think they might even be a part of the main cast, so we'll have to see what they do there, but I'm excited for it, but not as much as some of the other projects listed here. Now, this next one is just amazing news because we get the best of both worlds here. This new show is going to be called Lanterns, and it stars both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. I mean, what more could you ask for? Everybody was saying we want Hal Jordan, no, we want Jon Stewart. Well, now we have both, so the debate can end. Now, this show apparently will be about Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan investigating a mystery, and I really hope they go the buddy cop route. I feel like that would be really funny, kind of like a space cop TV show, because the Green Lantern Corps are pretty much the police of space, so I don't know. I feel like it could work, but either way, they're going to investigate a mystery, and apparently that mystery will lead them to the main story that's going to kind of connect all these movies and TV shows together. My guess is they'll either lead to Darkseid or some other minor villain, but who could be a big league threat, and then eventually that could cause for a Justice League team-up. And right now, they haven't announced any new Justice League movies, which I'm glad for. They're taking this slow. They're building the characters. That's exactly what the DCEU did wrong. And if for nothing else, at least the DCEU taught Warner Bros. What not to do. So this next one's pretty interesting. It's called Paradise Lost, and it's about the Masquera, but before the time of Wonder Woman. Apparently what the story's going to be is an origins of sort of where did the island come from? Why is it only populated with women? Like, these are all things the show's going to go into. They're going to go about some of the political history of it, some of the society that kind of goes into it, like how was it built, all that good stuff. So it's definitely going to be one of the more interesting shows, I feel like. And I'm actually pretty curious because I have no idea how any of it started. I don't know if that's in the comics or not, but I haven't read too many. Now, this next show is about a character that I've heard of, but I don't really know that much about. But it's going to be Booster Gold. And apparently, who he is he's a time traveler from the 25th century who kind of hijacks like a museum and steals time travel equipment and other stuff. And he comes back to the present day so that he can become a superhero. And he's not like really a superhero like from the future where he's from. He's kind of just like a loser from what I've heard, but he wants that fame and that glory that comes with being a superhero. So I guess he time travels back in time. My guess is because it would be easier, but I'm not sure. But either way, it seems like a very interesting premise for a show, and I really hope and think it'll be one of the funnier ones. I mean, that premise alone, there's so much opportunity for jokes to be made there. I mean, it'll probably be a great show. So that's everything that was announced earlier today. Now, this whole thing is a soft reboot, so there are some actors that may be making a return. James Gunn has said he's opening it back up to Gal Gadot to come back as Wonder Woman. Obviously, we already have Viola Davis coming back as Amanda Waller. That's confirmed. Jason Momoa was offered to come back as Aquaman. Unfortunately, Ezra Miller could return as a Flash. I really hope they don't, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then also they've offered Zachary Levi to come back as Shazam. And I really like that decision because Shazam is by far my favorite DCEU movie. So I think it's just perfect casting. And I think that's why they did this kind of soft reboot, is so that they can keep those people who are perfectly casted and everybody likes. Overall, fingers crossed that DC doesn't ruin it again. I mean, they have such good stories to tell and they just squandered it with the DCEU. Hopefully this new DCU can be even better. And I do like that they're missing in animation and making it canon. That is really cool. So I have faith that James Gunn can pull this off. Everything he's worked on before has been amazing. So why would this be any different? I mean, just look at Guardians of the Galaxy or Peacemaker or the Suicide Squad, and you know that when he directs, he doesn't miss. But with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. If you guys like the video, hit the like button. If you guys want to see more from my channel, hit the subscribe button. I'll be covering more of these DC movies and TV shows as they start to come out in the future. So stay tuned for that, guys. And let me know in the comments below. Are you excited for this reboot? Personally, I am, because I'm a huge fan of DC. And I've hated what they've been doing with the DCEU for years now. So I think this is our opportunity to finally have something good be put to the big screen. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.